I've had some trouble with the chat, so let's see if it works this time, if anyone comes on and chats with me live. And today I want to talk about the psychology of the job interview. And there's so many aspects to doing really well in an interview, and the psychology part is definitely a big part of it. And what I view as psychology, because it's, I think everything when we interact with other people is psychology. But let's start from the beginning, because I think there's a lot of prep work to do even before you come to the interview. First thing is what you wear. And a lot of the time you'll see me in a blue blazer. And what I'll do if I'm going to an interview, I will have the photo I have on my on my CV. If there's a photo on it, I will have my blue blazer on. I will have the same photo on my LinkedIn profile, and I will have the same blazer on when I interview, because I know they've been seeing this. And the more research shows that the more we see something, the more positive we'll be towards it, unless it's a very annoying commercial. That's a tipping point, right? But even the commercials that start annoying can actually turn out to be likable. But sidetrack. What I mean here is that the more we kind of see people, the more top of mind they get, the more positive it's going to be. So that's why I will wear the same blazer. And last time I had an interview and I got the job, and they were like, you know what, we actually spoke about you wearing the same very bright blue blazer on your picture as you did in the job interview. So it definitely left a spark, right? So really make sure to do something. And if you're not into like bright colors, then find something else that stands out. Maybe you have glasses that are very, very distinct. Or I had a candidate once who had very amazing earrings. So kind of figure out what stands out, what can be recognizable for you in terms of both in your pictures, but also when you show up in person. Then sometimes when we're staying with the clothes, people are sometimes like, but how do I make sure to dress appropriate for the interview and for the company? Because I don't want to overdress and I don't want to underdress. And that's totally understandable. The way to do this is to try and overdress what they would do normally. So what I mean by that was, yeah, that didn't help me, right? No, I know. But go into the company website and look at their profile pictures or their employee photos. The way that they're dressed there will probably be that's what the company wants. That's the image the company wants to portray, right? So that means that if you dress according to that kind of dress code, then you will be pretty safe, because it's not good to come in and be underdressed, but it's also not good to come in and be underdressed. So basically, make sure to kind of show up. I had my previous job where we had to have photos taken for the website so everyone could go in and see. We worked there and that was fine. But then there were kind of guidelines saying, hey, you need to wear either a blazer or a dress shirt, and it needs to be blue or black. And it was like, yeah, that's super, but not a lot of us did that like in everyday work. So it ends up being this thing, right, that we do, but only do for that, if that makes sense. So yeah, so that's the first thing. Then there's body language. Body language, hard word apparently. And there's a couple of different things here, and I'm going to start with body language, how you can kind of use body language to prep yourself up. I've spoken a little bit about this before, and about power posing. And to be honest, I think I've heard that the science behind this has been disproven, but if it helps, it helps. And for me, it helps. So, and I've known a lot of people, it also helps. So it's all about the mindset here, right? But if you power pose for a couple of minutes before going into an interview, you will feel better in your body and you'll have more positive energy. So a power pose can be like standing out like, yay! Like, you don't need to say yay, but hands over your head. Or it can be Superwoman, so the hands in the side of the body, or Superman, or whatever you want to call it. but something that's like energy, back with the shoulders. It can also be lean back and put the feet up on the table. Don't do that in a waiting room. Don't do any of the others in the waiting room either. But go to the bathroom or something. Ask to use the bathroom, or do it before you kind of go into the building, stuff like that. But something to kind of get you in a yes, now we're going to do this, it's going to be amazing kind of mood. So if you want to know more about power posing, you can look up Amy Cuddy. Yeah, I'm going to come back to body language when you're in the interview in just a second, because something else I want to talk about before I get into that is as soon as you come into the parking lot. I don't know if you've seen these often American movies where it's like someone is cutting someone off in the parking lot because they're late for the interview, and then they come in, and then the person they cut off in the parking lot is the interviewer or their potential boss, right? And they're like, oh, so think about it. As soon as you enter, because the idea here is good. So that as soon as you step into the property of the company, you're in interview mode. Basically, always like act like it and be a decent person, right? And don't like be a dick about stuff, but make sure that you behave super well. If you're a smoker, make sure that you smoke that last cigarette before you enter the parking lot. You do not smoke in their smoking area. You do not do that on their grounds. And make sure to kind of have, I don't know, a bit of perfume, some gum stuff, so you don't smell like smoke if possible. Then when you come in, you also say nicely hi to the reception. Everyone you meet, you greet them saying nicely, hi, how are you? Stuff like that. When you are then waiting, don't take out your phone, because a lot of the time the receptionist is also looking at you, right? Is this someone who's acting extremely rude or whatever it is? So don't bring out your phone, don't do that, those kind of things. Just like sit there and maybe take out your notes, take out stuff like that if you really want to do something. And then usually what you'll experience in Denmark, at least, is that you will get picked up in the reception area, and there'll be a short walk to whatever meeting room it is. That time is meant for small talk. So make sure that you have something to small talk about, or don't be surprised if they're like, oh, how was your weekend, or was it hard to find it? And don't complain here. It's nice, it's meant to be like nice, positive small talk. And again, it sets the tone. So this is super interesting. Another thing that you can do, and I just heard this from one of my colleagues the other day with a very good example. Well, I heard a good example. I knew this, but I heard a very good example the other day about he had a client who was into football, and there had been this extremely interesting football game during the weekend, and he realized that by doing his research that the interviewer was also into football, and they were rooting for the same team. So when the interviewer asked, did you have a nice weekend? He was like, yeah, football, but unfortunately they lost. And then all of a sudden they had something to connect on. So remember, small talk. Okay, then the first thing a lot of them are going to ask you is about, would you like something to drink? Please have a seat. Would you like something to drink? Say yes. If we say no, we start setting up psychological barriers already. I'm not saying that you'll never get a job if you say no. I'm just saying there's no reason to set up this barrier. So even if it's, yes, thank you, I would love a glass of water, that would be amazing. And this is just for someone who's clumsy like me. I would always choose water, because one, it's not warm, hopefully, and two, it doesn't stain if you end up knocking it over because you're nervous. So say yes, because we want to have as many yeses and positive interactions between us and the company, or the employees in the company, the interviewers. Then you also want to, I had something else right there that disappeared again. Okay, I'll come back to it if I remember. Okay, so coming back to the body language part, when you are presenting yourself and when you are answering the questions. It's really important, of course, to have good body posture. One of the things is that, especially if that was what I was thinking about, being nervous. It's okay to say to them that you're nervous, because a lot of people will be, because it's an unnatural situation to be in, right? Unnatural, not natural. So let people know that you are nervous. It's okay. Then sit down and ground yourself. Put both feet on the ground and make sure to kind of ground yourself. A good thing about this is you usually have a straighter back when you sit that way. And for someone like me who has very short legs, I also end up not leaning back, because usually I can't reach the floor, which is stupid, right? But that's how I work. But the point here being that the thing is, a lot of the time when we rehearse at home, so okay, I'm going to rehearse my pitch. I'm just going to sit back, lean back, and have maybe my paper here and just rehearse my pitch. And then you do that 5, 8, 10, 12 times. The problem with that is that your body remembers, and it puts words with body posture. So when you then start your rehearsed speech, your body's automatic response will be to start to sit back. So when we're going back to the prep before the interview part and the body language, is that, remember, when you prep your pitch, when you prep your questions, when you prep your answers, all of these things, remember, I would either stand and walk around, because that's like, your body can't really, if you're sitting, you're not going to stand up without like noticing. So either walk around, smile, and then if you're sitting, sit straight, like shoulders back, like try to be as on as possible as you would be in an interview as well. Okay, I'm just looking over my thing here. Okay, so now we've had the beginning of the interview. There's also, of course, make sure to interact with everybody throughout the interview. Make sure not to just look at one person if there's more people in the room. And then, and again, I know this is a bit different, but in Denmark, the company is 99% of the time going to ask you, do you have any questions? And the answer is yes, you do. Because one, you should have some good questions, because an interview is also a way for you to get to know the company and ask the questions that could help you determine whether you want to be there or not. But also because having questions shows the company that you're interested. If you're saying, no, I'm good, I promise you the chance that you're going to get that job is slim to none. Because it's like, I'm not super interested. Through that 30 to 60 minutes, depending on how long the interview is, if you're really interested in working in this company with these people, if there's not questions that you didn't get answered that you had prepared, there's been questions coming up throughout the interview that you can then ask. So make sure to leave that good impression and, leave a good impression by saying, sure, yes, I do have a few questions, if it's okay. I would always have the last question. This is me for the purpose of also not being ghosted, but also just for my own kind of mental sanity when interviewing, would be to say, thank you so much. I just have one last question. When would I expect to hear from you in terms of furthering this process, or for an answer based on interview, job, whatever, depending on where I am in the process. The reason you want to do this is because, one, then you know when you need to start like figuring out, ooh, maybe I didn't get the interview, or maybe I didn't get the next round. So when you ask, hey, when can I expect to hear back from you? Let's say they're interviewing on a Monday and they're going to say, well, we'll get back to you no later than next Monday. Super. Next Monday rolls around, you haven't heard anything. Come Tuesday, then you call them up and say, hey, you know what? I had such a great time at the interview. I think this position sounds so interesting, and I'm really excited about potentially having this opportunity. You were telling me that I would hear back from you by yesterday, but I haven't heard anything. So I was just wondering, where are you in the process? So this is not a, where the fuck, why haven't you gotten back to me? You promised you would. It's always a curiosity. It's always a, I'm so excited. So I was just wondering, where are you in the process? Because sometimes in companies, stuff come up. Sometimes they have offered the job to someone else and they're waiting for that person to sign the contract. And there can be a lot of different reasons why they want to, or they haven't gotten back to you. So when you make that call, three things are going to happen, or one of three things are going to happen. One, they're going to say, you know what, we had to postpone a little bit. We will reach out to you within X amount of time. Two, they're going to say, oh, thank you so much, or however they phrase that. We decided to move on with someone else. Or three, that's amazing. Thank you so much for calling. We're just about to call you to offer the job or say, invite you to the next interview round. So either of these three things is nice, right? Because it gives you more certainty. If they're like, oh, we'll get back to you, something happened, we'll get back to you in a few days. And then again, if they don't, you follow up again. If they're like, oh, you know what, we went with someone else, then super, because then you can kind of put it out of the way. Then you can always ask for feedback and say, oh, I'm so sorry, I was really excited about this. Could you tell me a bit about what you chose to focus on? What made you choose the person or the people who went to the next round or the person you ended up hiring? Because then it's focused on the positive, and it's where you actually learn as well that for this kind of position, it could also be phrased as, if I were to apply for a position like this with you guys at a later point, what would you recommend me focusing on? I would still try the other way around, focus on what they hired, because that's what's top of mind for them, the positive, right? It's easier to remember. And then the third one is, of course, like if you go to the next round or you get the job offer right there, then yay, congratulations. And so the last little thing, well, one thing before the last thing, the one thing before the last little thing is, if you don't already follow me, subscribe, or like the video, it really helps a lot in terms of reaching more people who can use the content. But the last little thing that I want to share in terms of the interview is following up. So you're like, didn't we already do that? But this is not what I mean when I say follow up here. When you've had the interview, about between half a day and a day later, you'll go back. You don't do it right away. That can come off as a bit desperate, but go back and write them an email and say, hey, Sophia, or whatever. Don't use Sophia if that was not her name, but the interviewer's name, right? And say, hey, if you have their email, thank you so much for a really interesting interview. I especially found this part of the role or the talk interesting. If you have a follow-up question that you came across after or that you thought about after leaving, you can put that in there. But otherwise, it's just, I really found this part interesting. And this should, of course, be something that's important for the role and something you do find interesting, super important. And then I look so much forward to hearing from you. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out either by email or by calling me. I hope this makes sense. I have nothing else today. I was just checking if there was any comment, and I haven't really figured that part out yet on these lives. I should have figured that out by now, but it's all good. Thank you so much for jumping in today. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you for the last, I think it's the last, I need to count. This is my 30-day challenge, so I think tomorrow is my last day of the 30-day live. And then I plan on starting to go back to doing regular videos, maybe once in a while, live. I like these when I have some good topics. It's a lot to do for 30 days. So yeah. Okay, I'm rambling now. Have an amazing day. I'll get back to my audiobook. Cheers.